Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those who don't identify as either, you are listening to a bonus episode of Ratchet and Respectable. I told you a couple months ago, if there were big stories that we needed to cover, I would do bonus episodes as necessary. We are in day 3 of the Diddy trial. It's shaping up to be the trial of the century. Very OJ. I can't believe I'm living through this shit twice. It is explosive. On the most recent episode of Ratchet and Respectable that actually dropped earlier today, I covered the first 2 days of the trial, or at least of the testimony. Week 1 was jury stuff and housekeeping, and then testimony began on the latter half of Monday. If you need a full breakdown of what happened, go to the previous episode. It's called A Massive Shit Show, also known as the Diddy trial. The very end of the episode, I spend about 45 minutes recapping day 1 and day 2 of the trials. I'm telling you that in case you're just tapping in now, where we're discussing day 3. Most of day 2 and all of day 3 of the trial have been Cassie testifying. I think she did about 4.5 hours the first day. And then today from 9:30 until 5 o'clock with a few breaks in between, she testified again. Yesterday was brutal. She's detailing her relationship with Diddy. She's talking about the freak-offs, the abuse that we read about in her initial lawsuit, but she goes into much more detail. I have read every major lawsuit alleging sexual assault, sexual abuse, criminal, civil, otherwise, that's been filed in the last 18 months. I've usually read them, summaries of them, page by page, on episodes of Ratchet and Respectable. I'm reading the summaries. I go through what's posted on CNN, the New York Times, and Variety. All of the information that I speak about on the podcast today is pulled from those 3 sources. I would have theoretically liked to have attended the trial. People are sleeping out overnight to get into the Diddy trial. I love y'all. I love y'all. I don't love y'all enough to go sleep out overnight in New York City to get into the Diddy trial. Doing recaps of the recaps from reliable, credible news outlets is fine for me. I hope it's fine for you too. So let's get into today's testimony. It was all Cassie all day. It's bad. As a reminder, we are discussing a case that is about sex trafficking, transportation of prostitutes, and RICO charges. There's a lot of testimony about sexual abuse, sexual assault, rape, violence, physical abuse, drug use, verbal abuse. It's bad. I mentioned before that I had read all of the big cases that sort of dabble into each of the charges that I just listed. This is one of the worst. I think probably Cassie's initial lawsuit and then Dawn from Danity Kane. That lawsuit was really bad. And then Cassie yesterday was really bad. Cassie today, I read the summaries. I cried. I cried bad. What she endured, what she survived, the love that she still had for him after they broke up, after all the things that he had done to her, she had allowed to be done to herself, the way he manipulated her, the way he groomed her, she was still in love with him. It broke my heart. She's somebody's child, and nobody's child deserves to be treated like this. Let's get into the case. I'm just warning you, it's extra bad. However bad you're expecting it to be, it's worse than that. So let's go. Day 3, Diddy trial. Cassie takes the stand. It is worth noting, because there's been a lot of conversation about Diddy's daughters. They are all 18. Chance graduated from high school last year. The twins graduate like in a couple weeks. They're going to prom. They weren't at trial today, day 3, because, a spokesperson said, because they had gone back to LA to prepare for prom, which is this weekend. And then Chance just wasn't there, and there was no explanation. I was thinking about his girls today. Well, I mean, after I said, thank God they're not in the courtroom, because nobody needs to sit there and listen to these type of details about their father. I was thinking about his girls, especially the twins. Your mama is deceased under suspicious circumstances. A lot of people think that your father had something to do with your mother's demise. Just stick with the facts. Your mother is deceased, and your father has been locked up for the last few months and is currently on trial, federal charges for some heinous shit. These girls, these teenage girls with no mama and a daddy in jail, are attempting to have a life of some normalcy. you could go through the motions. You could go to prom and you could do your senior skip day or your senior vacation or your graduation and all of that. Neither one of their parents are going to be present for their graduation. That's a lot. We've all been binging Mara Brock Akil's new series on Netflix forever. And everyone is, crying about like, oh, the kids are so young. They're so innocent. And, this is their first heartbreak. This is their first everything. They're learning all these new experiences. And it's so much. Just imagine like the so much of everything regular kids deal with, just to get across the finish line and prepare for graduation and get to college. Diddy's daughters, one of them is a freshman, still got a mom, but her dad too is sitting in a courtroom facing federal charges. You're sitting in the courtroom listening to it, and all of your friends, your classmates, reading it, watching it, streaming recaps all day. Like that's so much. My heart breaks for those girls. Actually, all the kids. This man as your father and all the things that Cassie is describing. Cassie met Diddy when she was 19. He was 36. He was her first adult relationship, according to her. She wasn't his. He had 6 kids when he met Cassie, at least 2 or 3 public girlfriends. Many of the things that Cassie is describing in various degrees, people have talked about, like that's what he did to Kim Porter. He didn't like turn 36 and just decide like, oh, okay, I'm into freak offs and I'm into beating chicks. I ain't never done nothing like this before, but I think I'll start now. Stories about him being unhinged date back to when he was still attending Howard. How many other women did he treat like this? Did he treat the mothers of his children like this? More than likely, yes. Misa Hilton Brim, Justin's mama, she has a book coming out later this year. I don't know what it's about, but I know the day galleys are available, I will be calling over to the publisher like, please and thank you. The prosecutors asked 50 million questions. They didn't go in chronological order. I tried to put my notes in chronological order so you just get a sense of what was happening when and how all these incidences build on themselves. Cassie says 2007, 2008 was the first time that Combs hit her. She says they were at a party and she observed him flirting with another woman. She didn't say anything about it, but she said one of Combs, I think she said an assistant, caught her eye and saw that she was observing it. Again, Cassie never said anything. She says later that night, she and Combs were in the car when they were leaving dinner. And she said out of nowhere, he just hit her in the side of the head and she fell on the floor. She said his security guard was right there. His driver was right there. And again, she said nothing. He just heard that she had observed or maybe looked jealous or looked angry, whatever face you make when you observe your man flirting with someone else. Yesterday, Cassie testified that she believed that she and Diddy were in a monogamous relationship. Diddy, monogamous. She's 19, maybe 21, 22. She said she met him at 19 and nothing happened until I think her 21st birthday when he kissed her unexpectedly. Unwelcomed at that. She was in a relationship. She had a boyfriend. Ryan Leslie, the producer, him. Fast forward to 2011. Diddy reads Cassie's emails. If I recall this detail, they were in the middle of a freak off. For whatever reason, he was reading her emails and he discovered that she was dating Kid Cudi. The rapper? Do you remember that show he was in on HBO, like How to Make It in America? It's one of HBO's better shows, but I think it only lasted for like 2 seasons. My friends and I were obsessed. It was a really good depiction of the way people were hustling in New York at that time. Legitimate hustle, like trying to get on hustle, not like hustle man hustle. But she was dating Cudi and Diddy found out. Cassie testified that he lunged at her with a wine opener. She was able to escape. She ran. And later he threatened to release videos of the freak-offs to embarrass her, or to them is what I wrote, to embarrass her and Cudi. Cassie was staying at a hotel at the time. She says when she returned, her hotel room had been trashed. Urine and feces in the bathroom, and the furniture was in disarray. She told her mom this was the first time that she said Diddy was physically abusing her and that he threatened, this is in an email, and he threatened to blow up Kid Cudi's car in his driveway. She didn't tell her mom about the sexual abuse, the freak off. She was like, it was just too much. I couldn't tell my mother that. Like, I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. Later, Kid Cudi's car was blown up in his driveway, just as Diddy promised. Cudi, Cassie, and Diddy met at Soho House, which I was like, you have all the money in the world and you just be having meetings about shit like blowing up people's cars, like out in like the public. It could have been a private room at Soho House. It is members only, but still, I would just think you wanted a little more discretion in that, but apparently nobody gives a fuck. So they met, and Cudi asked him point blank about the blown up vehicle in his driveway. Like, you said that a vehicle was going to blow up in my driveway, and then a vehicle blew up in my driveway. So what the fuck? And Diddy was like, what vehicle? And Cassie said the meeting ended after that. Like, if we here to discuss, like, you on your crazy shit and you won't even, like, acknowledge, you be like, what vehicle? Nigga, the vehicle that blew up in my goddamn driveway, that vehicle. He didn't want to acknowledge it, so the meeting was over. This incident didn't have a date, not that was reported in the sites I was looking at. It says, at a party in L.A., Diddy called Cassie, quote unquote, a crude name. The New York Times didn't say what the name was. They just said it was crude. It says later, after the party, Diddy and Cassie were in a truck and she was pissed, so she punched him. She says Diddy beat her, stomping her face as she lay on the floor. She said when they arrived at the house, she jumped out the car and she ran to get away. Home security chased her down, caught her, and brought her back to the house. In the house, she looked in the mirror. She didn't recognize herself. She testified, quote, everything was swollen. I think this is a really important detail to mention. Online all day, well, and really anytime there's a story about a woman and a man and there's some form of abuse, the prevailing narrative from many men and many women as well is like, well, if it was so bad, why didn't she just leave? Well, she tried. She did try to leave. Like, he stomped her in her face, and then she literally jumps out of a car and tries to run away. His security chases her down, captures her like she's a fugitive. Like the security is ICE, and brings her back. Why didn't she leave? She did. She tried to. We've seen this before at the elevator bank. The video, he comes and throws her on the floor, and then he kicks her a bunch of times and literally drags her and makes her go back into the hotel room. She was trying to leave. People are like, why didn't she try to leave? She did try to leave. He beats the brakes off of her when she tries to leave. He sends his security to go fetch her. She's a fugitive trying to get north of the Mason-Dixon. He went and got her and brought her back. She couldn't leave. She tried to leave. She couldn't leave. There was another incident. Cassie went to a party at Prince's house. She went with her friends. She didn't tell Diddy she was going. He popped up at the party, which I was like, you didn't see that one coming? You didn't think Diddy was going to end up at a Prince party? Like, that seems very, like, his vibes. Like, if you got an invite, you didn't think Diddy got an invite? Not the point. She goes to the party. Diddy pops up. She said she was so scared at the way he was looking at her across the room that she left. She said she stumbled over some bushes. She was trying to get out of there so fast. She went home. She was packing to go somewhere the next day. I don't remember where she said she was going. It's irrelevant to the story. She said Diddy came. I don't know if it was a hotel or the house, but Diddy came to where she was, and he threw the packed luggage at her. Packed luggage, like 50 pounds. If you're flying first class, 70 pounds. Cassie says her face was bruised and she had knots on her head after. The number of times this woman described, like, oh, my face was bruised and I had knots on my head. My face was bruised. My lip was busted. I had knots on my head. I had to stay in a hotel or at somebody's house because I couldn't be seen in public because I had bruises and knots on my head and my lip was busted and my eye was black. It comes up over and over and over. He beat the shit out this girl. And I do mean girl, because she was like 19, early 20s for most of this, while he's mid, late 30s, early 40s. Cassie testified. Again, here we go. People asking, why didn't she leave? She said it wasn't safe. She said, quote, I didn't have the resources. I understood Diddy's capabilities, his access to guns, and the threats he made prior. One of the reasons that I took the time to put the details in chronological order, so you could make sense of the things that happened prior that inform the way that she acts in the present. So to be like, well, why didn't she leave? Well, she started dating somebody else, and then Diddy blew up a car in her driveway. She showed that she was jealous at an event, and he hit her in the head in the car. She fought back because she was pissed. He embarrassed her in public, and she did something about it. She hit him the way he hit her. And then he stomped her out in the car, and she tried to leave, and he had a security come bring her back. And then here she is explaining again. She's like, I didn't have the resources. One, that's important. You need resources in order to go. And then also she said, he has access to guns. Like, and again, he blew up a car in somebody's driveway. And then he also made threats prior. And then also when she tried to leave, he'd have people track her down. And she still tries to leave after that. The elevator incident is, 3-4 years after what I'm describing. Cassie also says that she didn't tell her family. This came up. We spoke about it before. She said because she was ashamed and she didn't want to put her mother in danger. She's dating Cudi. The car blows up in the driveway. They're like, Diddy, the vehicle, the fuck? And what vehicle? She don't want to risk that happening to her mother. 2013, Cassie woke up to Diddy in her apartment. She said he was always like popping up at her house, breaking in, coming in, whatever. She eventually bought a house so he couldn't come and go as he pleased. In New York and LA, she had apartments that he paid for, so he would come and go. He would just pop up whenever he wanted. She said she woke up to Diddy in her apartment yelling and trying to attack her. Two of her friends had slept over and they jumped on his back to stop him. Cassie testified he threw her down and she banged her face on the bed. It left a gash. Diddy's security took her to a plastic surgeon. Cassie has a permanent scar. This is from 2013. She has a permanent scar that she covers with makeup to this day. It's 12 years later. At the time that she got the gash, she went and got it stitched up. She texted Diddy a picture of the injury that he caused to her face. He responded, "You don't know when to stop. You have pushed it too far and continue to push. Sad." That's your response to busting somebody in the head and fucking up their face? That's your response. It is. Cassie continues. She says, after that attack, they left and went to the Hamptons for a freak off. She took GHB. She took too much. She blacked out and she woke up nude in the shower. And then after she came to, she continued the freak off. Cassie recalls a time that Diddy beat her in a Vegas hotel room while he hosted a party next door. This was in her initial lawsuit. She said that beating caused 2 black eyes and golf ball-sized knots on her forehead. She said he beat her so bad that his security guards intervened. She said one of the security guards cried when he saw her. She ended up staying at Diddy's house for a week to recover because she looked so bad. Christian was at the house while she was there to recover. She was on FaceTime with Diddy, and he was like, "You need to put more makeup on. My son is at the house. You can't be walking around like that. You can't be beating her like that. My God." Cassie does clarify yesterday's testimony. The prosecutor asked her a question about fighting back, and she said no, she never fought back. She clarifies that she was specifically referring to the incident that was on video in the elevator bank at the Intercontinental Hotel. That was 2016. She said occasionally she would fight back, but she learned quickly that would make Diddy more violent. Cassie testified after the elevator incident that left her with the black eye, the one we saw the video of. She left after that, and she says Combs crashed out. He blew her phone up with text. She wasn't responding to him, and he said, "For my kids, help. Please call. I'm surrounded." Texted again. He said, "I got 6 kids." Those are just the ones that I wrote down. There's like 6 or 7 more texts. He just sat there and blew up her phone. He also claimed that police were there at the hotel and he was getting arrested. He was lying. It's not true. Never happened. The security guard that responded to the incident at the hotel, that was the first witness that the prosecution called on Monday. And he was like, "No, I didn't call the police and I didn't file a police report because neither one of them wanted to press charges." He was like, "I made an incident report with the hotel. That's internal. Like, there was no need to call the police because she didn't want to call the police. She said she just wanted to leave. So she left. And that was that." He also texted her. He said, "The cops are here and you're going to abandon me all alone." He was lying. He's also saying this shit to her after he flung her to the floor and kicked her repeatedly and dragged her across the floor. Also, we talked about this yesterday. She was fleeing from a freak off that was going on in the hotel. You're drugging her up and forcing her to have sex with an escort. He punched her in the face and blacked her eye the day or a couple days before she had a big movie premiere. She flees. He beats her up, the part that we saw on video. And then he texts her, "My kids, I got 6 kids. The police are here. Like, you're abandoning me." Nigga, yeah. She should have stayed gone. I wish she had. Unfortunately, she did not. She responded to him, though. She said, "You are sick for thinking it's okay to do what you've done to me." She also told him if he stayed in his room and didn't bother any of the hotel guests, nobody would come bother him. Nobody would be looking for him. This is after the elevator incident. Cassie's friend came to her house and saw the damage to her face. And she called the police. The police came and saw Cassie's face and was like, "Well, who did this to you? Like, somebody beat you. Like, who did this to you?" She said she wouldn't give up Diddy's name to the police. She said, quote, "I didn't want to hurt him." And quote, "She wasn't ready to talk." He groomed that baby bad. Bad. But your friend looked at your face and was like, absolutely not. You ain't calling the police. Well, I'll do it because he not going to beat on you like that. And they got there and just, no, I didn't want to do anything to hurt him. He didn't care about hurting you. He didn't care about busting you in your fucking face. He did it and he'd do it again. He did it once in the room. And when you tried to leave, he did it a bunch of times in the hallway. He kicked her like a rag doll. And when she had the opportunity to tell, she said, I don't want to hurt him. Sad. The day after the elevator incident, Diddy popped up at her house. She said he was, quote, banging, kicking, and yelling at the door. She wasn't really fazed by it because she said, yeah, this behavior was pretty normal. He does that. What? Yeah. He popped up at her house so frequently, acting crazy and just coming inside, assaulting her, like whatever. She said she kept a knife wedged in the door handle because Diddy kept popping up so often. And the prosecutor distributed pictures of the knife in the door handle. Cassie said it was practical and it was functional because you could go open the door and grab the knife at the same time. Do you understand how crazy that is? Like, did that make sense in your head? Like, I'm not going to tell the police what happens, but I'm going to put a knife in the door handle because he comes over and he gets crazy and I don't know. Maybe I have to kill him, but I don't want to tell the police because I don't want anything to happen to him. I don't want to hurt him. She was in deep. And it gets worse. It just, like, the more I read, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. For what it's worth, Cassie did make it to the premiere of the film. It was called The Perfect Match. I didn't even go see it. I vaguely remember it. She attended with Diddy. They walked the red carpet together. There are pictures. She says if you look close in the red carpet photo, which I did, want to say CNN had gone and pulled some photos from the premiere. And in the photo, you can see bruises on her side. It's very faint, but you can see the bruises. And she also said she had to switch gowns mid-event because you could see the bruising on her legs. Because he kicked the fuck out of her. Yeah. Cassie testifies that she participated in hundreds, plural, hundreds of freak-offs during her relationship with Diddy. The timeline came up on day 2 of the trial. Freak-offs could last anywhere from like 36 hours to more than 4 days. And she would be kept awake with like a series of drugs, cocaine, opiates, whatever was available. Cassie said she spent most of her time, like they would do freak-offs like every week. So the freak-offs would last, a day and a half to up to 4 days. And then she would spend like the other, say, 3-4 days of the week doing IV, sleeping, trying to clear her system and recover from the freak-offs, from the sleep deprivation, from all the drugs, from all the sex, the beatings. She was in a constant cycle of like being brutalized and recover, being brutalized and recover. She said it felt like a job. And another point she says, like, that's all I had time to do. The freak-offs forever and then recovery. My question, I don't mean to be insensitive. It's just the question that popped in my head, so I'm going to relay it. Diddy, since like the 90s, has always been doing a bunch of something. There's the music, there's TV shows, there's the water, there's the agency, there's parties, like the big flashy shit, not just like the after parties where allegedly, crazy shit happened. There's always something that he's into. Running a marathon, the cover of some magazine. I'm like, where did he find the time to be having these freak-offs for days at a time and then recovering? Because Diddy and Cassie are doing drugs together. At some point today, she testified that he kept a Louis Vuitton toiletry bag full of all types of drugs. Like, she made a list, and I was like, I've never even heard of some of this shit. I'm like, how did he find the time to do anything? And even with Cassie, she made mention, I think it was yesterday, she was signed to Bad Boy to do 10 albums, which is insane. She was 19, though. She didn't know what she was signing. But she signed this 10-album deal with Bad Boy. She only put out 1 album, but she clarified yesterday that she made enough music for 9 albums. She was always in the studio. She was always making music. It just wasn't getting released. Also notable, Cassie has not done a freak-off since 2018. And I know I've seen some commentary online, and they're just like, hey, like, these are just 2 people who like to do freaky deaky shit. If Cassie was really into it, like, people would want to make her out to be just to get Diddy off the hook. I don't know why people just won't, like, crucify him the way he deserves to be crucified after all of these lawsuits, after that video came out, after the entire Bad Boy roster, something terrible has happened to. The only one whose money didn't get fucked up was Biggie because he died at like 25. Had he stayed another 5 years, he would have learned the same lessons that Mace learned, that Shine learned, that Craig Mack learned, that Faith learned, Junior Mafia learned, Total learned. He has this extensive and exhaustive history of all these people that he fucked over. And for some reason, people just can't accept, yes, he fucked over Cassie too. When it comes to Cassie, it was like, no, he didn't do that shit. Like, he just freaky. And like, Cassie wanted it. Like, she asked for that shit. Like, fuck her. Free Diddy. Cassie and Diddy were in the middle of a freak off when one of Diddy's security guards interrupted to say that Suge Knight was at a diner nearby. Diddy abruptly ended the freak off, got dressed. He and his security guard grabbed guns from the safe and left to look for Suge Knight. All this time, we thought Suge Knight, and Suge Knight is crazy. Although when I met him, I called him Sugar Bear, and he was absolutely lovely. People be like, Demetria, you're making that shit up. I wrote about it in a book in 2011. I have no reason to lie. I went to LA to work the ESPN Awards, and that's when I met Suge Knight. That's not the point. The point is, we thought Suge Knight was like fucking crazy. We thought he was the only crazy. We thought Diddy was like, like the dancing, singing, shiny suit nigga. Nobody thought Diddy was a demon. We knew he fucked people over for money. We didn't know he was like literally keeping guns in the safe and could be ready, set, go at the drop of a hat. Who knew? Yesterday's testimony, or maybe it was the first day, one of the escorts that worked with Diddy and Cassie was on the stand, and he said that when he arrived at the hotel, Cassie gave him a bunch of money. She said she would tip him after the encounter. It was a few thousand up front, and he said a couple thousand on the back end as a tip. So Cassie clarified on the stand. She said, I actually like physically handed him the money, but the money was from Diddy. Like, it wasn't my money. I didn't have the money. Like, Diddy had the money. So he would give me the money, and I would give Diddy's money to the escorts. She also said that she tried to avoid kissing the escorts because she found it, quote, too intimate. But Diddy would request her to do so, and she did. Also in 2016, Diddy sent Cassie a text. He said that he wanted to have a sober freak-off so they could remember it. And Cassie noted that she preferred to be high. She liked to take opiates, she said, because it would completely numb her out. She could just, go off into whatever place in her head, and it was like what was happening wasn't really happening. On Cassie's 29th birthday, they were at a celebration for Cassie, and Diddy told her he wanted to leave because he wanted to do a freak off. Like, nigga, it's her birthday. Get off her. No. Either she put this in her original lawsuit, or I think one of her friends wrote a essay for Rolling Stone, I think, where she recounted the story. Diddy wanted Cassie to leave, and Cassie didn't want to go. Cassie said that she didn't want to leave. She wanted to do karaoke with her friends to celebrate her birthday. And I was like, that's so like sweet and wholesome. She said Diddy was at the event and he badgered her so bad that she relented and agreed to go. That's how she celebrated her 29th birthday. She left the party with all of her friends where they were celebrating the last year of her 20s. And he made her go do whatever horrible, disgusting things with strangers for his pleasure. Not hers. She said she never enjoyed them. She only did it to make him happy. When Diddy was upset with Cassie, we talked about this earlier, but it comes up again. Diddy would threaten to release videos of her. He would tell her that she needed to behave or otherwise he would release videos. I'm going to guess this happened more than once, but she asked him to delete videos and he lied and said he did. But later she would find out that he didn't. In 2014, one of the videos actually leaked. A man approached Cassie and told her that a DJ had showed him a video of her from one of the freak-offs. And Cassie said that she went to meet with the DJ and the man. She took her bodyguards with her to be intimidating to find out where the video came from, where the leak came from. And I'm like, it could only come from like one source. There's only one reason people keep videos and photos and stuff like that. Like the idea that like, oh, I just take it to look at it on my phone. You take it to put it in the group chat or post it or whatever. Videos and photos inherently are meant to be shared. That's why you take the photo. Cassie said that she developed stomach issues from all the drugs. She also had frequent urinary tract infections. She said sometimes she would have a UTI during the freak-offs. She said the pain was quote unquote horrible. And also she had urinary tract infections so often that the meds no longer worked. She said she also had sores in her mouth from taking drugs and from the amount of oral sex. That poor baby. That poor, poor baby. Cassie said, in addition to the freak-offs, she and Diddy also went to sex clubs where she would have sex sometimes with him or with an escort. She notes that she didn't want to do this either, that Diddy would, quote, push and push. She said she would drink and take drugs before they went. This incident doesn't have a date. It says Diddy and Cassie went to Cannes one year. They were staying on a boat, and his staff was staying at a hotel nearby. Cannes was so big, you can kind of walk most of it. She says Diddy accused her of stealing his drugs, and he kicked her off the boat, and she was barefoot. She had to walk barefoot to one of the hotels where the staff was staying, and she had to stay there. She says on the flight home, she tried to avoid sitting next to Diddy because she was pissed. She said he switched seats with whoever it was sitting next to her, and he pulled out his phone and he started playing videos of the freak-offs, the ones that he told her that he had deleted. He started playing the videos while he was sitting there next to her. And I was like, if that's not threat, intimidation, like, he also threatened to release the videos if she didn't act right. She said they got back to New York and they went to dinner, and Diddy told her he wanted to do another freak-off that night. And Cassie said she agreed. She said, I wanted, quote, whatever was going to make him not be angry at me, I was willing to do. And the freak-offs, was the one thing he made me feel like I was good at. 2017, Cassie sent Diddy a text. She says, quote, you treat me like Ike Turner. Cassie also testified that at least one of Diddy's assistants quit after they witnessed him beating her. She says Diddy beat other people too. It wasn't just her. She said he beat other people, including his own employees. He punched someone in the head. They didn't name who that someone was. He once dragged an assistant from her bed and held her over the balcony railing. I think that came up in the Rolling Stone article I just mentioned. Cassie testified that another time, Diddy threw that same assistant into some patio furniture. He also hit her best friend of 17 years in the head with a wood hanger. And that friend ended her relationship with Cassie after that, which I can't say that I wouldn't do the same. Like, he beating you and you don't want to do anything about it. Now that nigga think he gonna beat me? Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Cassie said she took opiates daily and would feel ill if she didn't. She said she went to rehab 5 to 6 times. After she left Diddy, she ended up having to go to rehab again. In 2018, she had broken up with Diddy. I didn't get the exact date on when, like what month in 2018. But she broke up with Diddy, and she said they met up at a restaurant for a closure conversation. And I was like, what closure did you need? I was like, baby, you weren't just happy to get away from that man and not be beat on no more? She had already started dating her now husband, Alex Fine. Diddy had hired him as a trainer for Cassie, and then they fell in love, and Cassie finally broke up with Diddy. So she was already dating the trainer. She met up with Diddy. She said they had a good time. He was in good spirits. Everything seemed fine. And she allowed him to drive her home. And then he raped her in her living room. She said she cried. She was telling him no repeatedly. He ignored her. And then as a cherry on top, he ejaculated inside her. This nigga's a monster. It's a monster. Despite everything I've described to you thus far, Cassie said that she and Diddy continued to have check-ins after they broke up. So after he drove her home, then he raped her while she cried and said no and nutted inside her. She said they still had check-ins. And the prosecutor said, what are check-ins? And she said, just checking in, sending love. Nothing crazy. When you see men online, when you hear about men, Shannon Sharp, like in his 50s, want to date these young girls, men who be like, oh, I'm 40 and I want to date like a 19-year-old. I'm 35. I want to date a 19-year-old. I'm 30. You're anything over like, I don't know, 23. I want to date a 19-year-old. Like, this is why. Our parents told us things about how people could be, about how things are. And you're like, yeah, no. When you're 19, you feel like you're invincible. You feel like, oh, that'll never happen to me. Nobody goes out into the world and thinks, you know what? I'm going to hook up with a predator. She didn't stand a chance. He was 36. She was 19 years old. Like, she's a child. A 25-year-old could have ran circles around her. A 36-year-old global celebrity with, I don't know, 2 decades of deviance and several women before her that he perfected his grooming and abusive techniques on. She had a boyfriend as a teenager. And then Diddy is her first adult relationship. This nigga, this level of deviance is her first adult relationship. That's how you end up with like everything that I've explained to you being like, oh yeah, like after all of that shit, checked in, sending love. Nothing crazy. That's crazy. Cassie testified that Diddy continued to threaten her after their relationship ended, she says in 2019, he told her that he wanted his money back. Remember, I just mentioned Cassie started dating the trainer that Diddy hired for her? So Diddy was like, you basically stole my girl. So the money that I was paying you, like, I want that shit back. I paid you. You didn't train her. You stole her. I want my money back. Diddy also reminded her, this is seemingly out of the blue, he told her that he had an iPad full of skeletons. He was referring to videos of the freak-offs. So he was threatening her again. He could release those videos at any time. Cassie says in 2023, she had a setback. She was filming a video. She started getting flashbacks while she was on set. She said she also has started feeling suicidal. She said one night she was at home with her husband. She said they had 2 kids and he had to stop her from walking out of the house and walking into traffic. She said she just wanted to die. She entered rehab and also began going to trauma therapy. Also in 2023, she wrote a book that described her quote and unquote pain that Diddy had put her through. And she sent him chapters from the book via his lawyer. She told the lawyer to tell Diddy that he could purchase the rights to her book for $30 million. She said she randomly picked a number that she thought would get his attention. Cassie testified, quote, I wanted to be compensated for the time, the pain, the many, many years of having to fix my life. She said when she didn't hear back, she reached out to a Diddy employee and asked if he'd read the book. And the employee told her that the book, the chapters, Diddy hadn't taken it seriously. So November, same year, I remember it vividly. She filed a lawsuit. And details of it ran in the New York Times, and the lawsuit was readily available all over Twitter. X. I'm never adjusting to X. Twitter. She said Diddy settled the lawsuit for $20 million 24 hours later. I was like, what kind of fucking lawyer do you have? Ma'am, you were asking for $30 million. You released the lawsuit and you took 20? You should have upped the price to get it to go away. You should threaten to go on Nightline, go have a sit down with Oprah, go have a sit down with Gail, go talk to Robin, go on The View. The reason he paid you was to shut the fuck up and make the story go away. He should have given you at minimum the $30 million that you asked for and another $10 million for making you put your business out there. Your lawyer can't negotiate for shit. He need to go talk to Smoke Stack, the little girl he taught it to, because she picked it up fast. Your lawyer did not. I'm pissed that she settled for $20 million. Ma'am, you sold yourself short, sweetheart. You sold yourself short. And you've been through so much. No way Cassie could have experienced all of these things and had any just basic self-worth left. Terrible things have happened to me that have left me completely devastated, that have taken me years to recover from. Like a one-off incident, wasn't even assaulted, just scared the living bejesus out of me. I'm thinking about the incident where the guy tried to break in my hotel room in Mozambique. I'm still fucked up over that. That's one incident. Cassie lived crazy shit, far more devastating than what I experienced for 11 years. And then some, because after they broke up, he still terrorized her. Baby girl, you was worth at least 40 and a decent lawyer could have got you 50. And who was your lawyer? It wasn't Gloria Allred or her daughter, because they would have made sure your ass got paid. I don't know who your lawyer is, but I hope they ain't still your lawyer. Fire that nigga. The prosecutor asked Cassie, they said, why are you testifying? She responded, she said, I'm here to do the right thing. I can't carry this anymore. The shame, the guilt. That was the end of Cassie's testimony for the day. Tomorrow is the cross-examination with the defense, Diddy's lawyers. Also, worth noting, I saw this detail in the New York Times. After Cassie finished testifying, all the shit that I've read to you today, all the trauma, all the horror, all the abuse, physical, mental, emotional, psychological, financial, all of it, Diddy turned around to his family and he mouthed to them, I'm okay. Like, he's the fucking victim here. Niggas and flies. Niggas and flies. That's the episode. Based on what happens tomorrow, we'll determine whether we have another bonus episode. I'm going to take it day by day. Some days we might have to combine episodes, but if I feel it's worth doing an episode because, oh my God, this is crazy, I'll put up another one. All right? I don't think I could do 8 weeks of this. I'm not even just talking about bonus episodes or coverage, just this kind of information and then the conversations that are happening online around it. So many men and so many women blaming Cassie as if she was the one who punched herself, if she was the one who raped herself. It's all this like, why didn't she leave? Why didn't she leave? Why didn't she leave? From people who I 100% know that you saw that tape of her trying to leave and he beat the brakes off of her. People keep asking, why didn't she leave? Why didn't she leave? Why didn't he not hit her? Why didn't he not abuse her? Why didn't he like pick somebody his own age? Why did he go after a 19-year-old? He is the active participant. Like Cassie got hit. He did the hitting. And there seems to be no onus. I say on here a lot. I say, a lot of men hate women. Like they like fucking, they like sex. But do they actually like women? Right now I need to ask the same thing of women. Like, okay, you are a woman, but do you actually like women? I don't think a lot of women like women either. All right, we'll be back. All right. Talk soon. Bye.
Llegaron los nuevos McCrispy Strips, listos para aventurarse en la mezcla de mayo ketchup, la barbecue que quedó en el fondo de la cajita, hot fudge sundae y en la nueva creamy chili McCrispy Strip dip. Los nuevos McCrispy Strips, ahora en McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.